All right, so this video is about setting up your environment in Python. We're going to install UV, set up a dev container. We're going to do a couple things that are just natural for getting your environment off the ground and kind of get running. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start a dev container. I'm going to reopen a container even though there's nothing there. And I'm going to add configuration to workspace. And I'm going to start with a clean container. Okay, you can definitely start with Python already there or whatever your preferred language is here, but I'm going to start with Ubuntu. Noble's fine. I'm not going to have anything here, and features we'll kind of add them as we go, whatever we need. And I'm not going to need dependabot currently. All right, so I'm inside of a dev container. And what I want to do here, I'm just going to add a new terminal. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install UV. And I'm going to do that before I do Python or anything else. Just to show there is no Python here. So if I do which Python, I get nothing. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install UV. Okay. It's just that quick. So now that I have UV, and it may not be on path yet, I may have to, nope, it's on path. So I'm going to install Python from UV. So I'm just going to do UV, Python, install 3.12. Those of you who follow me, 3.12 is kind of my go-to for a couple reasons, right? It's not the latest and greatest, so other things have kind of not have to worry about keeping up with it. So there's some packages out there that 3.12 is good for, but 3.14 will break it. And it's not like 3.9, right? It's not too old. You get a lot of the modern features here. And you can see is fast. It's pretty easy here. So the next thing I'm going to do, now that I have both UV and Python installed, is I'm going to init my project. So in this case, I'm going to do UV, and I'm just going to call this YouTube demos. Or actually, this is going to be for data engineering. So YouTube DE. And I need to do an init there. Init. There. Okay, so now I have a project. Now I'm going to cd into that project. Okay. Cool. Now I'm in there. And you noticed, right, this switched to master. That's because that's the branch I'm on. Okay, UV initted. Added a get ignore, right? My virtual environment's already get ignored, all the things here, build, dist, wheels, blah, blah, blah. Have a main.py. Okay, so this is my structure. This py project toml is going to replace your requirements.txt that you're kind of used to seeing. So instead of doing a requirements.txt and adding things there, we can add things from the command line and then share that toml around, or we can add it directly in the toml and share that toml around, and we'll see that in a minute. So now that I have that, I want to add a couple things. So I know that I want to do some, let's say I want to do some pulling data from an API. So I'm going to add httpx here. Some of you may use request. Request is fine. httpx is a little newer, a little different. So I'm going to add that in there. So you notice, okay, that I have a virtual environment here that it just created for me. Okay, so now I have my dev container, the project that I'm actually working in, a virtual environment that was created. I didn't have to do the whole ceremony of creating it and all the things. Now, let's go to my, let's do this. Let's go to my main.py. Good. So hello from YouTube DE. Okay. So if I do a UV run here, but I need to do something else. Sorry, UV run Python main.py. Okay, you get the hello world. Now what that does is it runs it from directly inside of the virtual environment. Okay, so you don't have to worry about activating the virtual environment. You just have to do UV run and the file that you want to run there with Python. You could do pip as well. So if you're really used to the pip workflow, I can do uv run pip or uv pip things. That's always an option to go back if you get stuck with the uv workflows. And then you can run your tests from here. So uv run pytest also runs tests. The other thing I want to talk about is, you're used to passing it around to requirements.txt and installing requirements.txt and all that. To do that same kind of thing here, since your virtual environment is added to gitignore automatically for you, you're going to just want to do a uv sync when you get a file. And what that does is takes this PyProject toml, and you'll see these dependencies are in here, and it automatically builds them for you. So as long as you have this toml, you can run uv sync and it will sync everything up for you. So you see I have dependencies there. Let's say I want to add a dev dependency. So I'm going to do uv add -- dev, and I want to add pytest because I want to run some tests here. Okay, so you'll see that it put a new dev dependency group here, and I have a dependency group dev pytest greater than 9.02, and the dependency for httpx. And it might not run, but technically if I run uv run pytest, okay, it will run even though I have no test there. You notice it added a pytest cache, which is fine. The next thing I want to do here, I do have main inside of my thing, but I want to switch this up just a little bit. I do want to add in some things folder wise, so I'm going to add a source and src. Actually, I want to add it in my project here because I'm keeping everything in this project. So I want to do a new folder, and that's going to be src, and that is where my source is going to live here. I'm going to put main and source, and then a new folder for tests. Okay, I definitely want that to exist. Actually, I need to make that tests plural. Sorry, let's rename that. Okay, tests. Maybe. Rename. There we go. Tests. Okay, I'm going to put a new folder in here that's going to be data. Just so we're going to move stuff around. Now again, those of you who've watched my videos, you do not want to put a lot of data inside of your repo. And it's just not what you do, because first of all, GitHub only handles files that are so big, and you don't want to accidentally put those into your repo. You want to make sure that they don't get committed and go up. So I'm going to go ahead and gitignore data real quick. So we're going to put this down here, and I'm just going to put misc, and I'm going to do data / so I can gitignore that. That's kind of the thing I want to do here. And actually that needs to go in here, and now it's ignored. Okay, so tests go in here as well. Okay, so you know, where did tests go? Right there. Nope, tests need to come out here. Good. So I have data, I have source, and I have test. Data's ignored. Okay, so I can do some things with it, but be careful. You don't want to have to cherry pick it back out again later. Source is where main are, tests are where all my pytests are going to live, and my unit tests as I'm going through this. Okay, so that's kind of where we are. Now, a couple things that I want you to see. Let me go back to my toml. It definitely can undo and redo and do all the things. So a couple things I want to do. And notice there's a UV lock. UV lock goes with your repo. That's all. That's kind of like if you're in NPM or Node, you have your Node lock, you have your lock files and things. That's kind of the same thing. But I can do a UV lock upgrade. Okay, and what that does is anything that's upgradable, it automatically upgrades for me and manages the dependencies to make sure they all work with each other. That's a good one. I can uninstall. Again, earlier you saw UV sync. That's really about it, right? You have Python version, which is the pinned version. You saw me install that. You have a virtual environment. You saw UV init just create that on its own. It created a GitHub repo and it created the gitignore for you. I added my own data file and put data here, and I added my own source file and moved my main.py there. And then nothing's in data right now. And really I would put a .git keep here. So empty folders don't go to gitignore. So if I want to have an empty folder, just for reference, you want to do .git keep here, and that will push your empty folder structure up so your teammates can use it. Same with tests for now. I might as well do a .git keep here. That way my folders don't go away. Okay, the next thing I really want to talk about is running this project. You saw before that I did uv run python main.py. That's the kind of quick way to run it to see if everything works. I'm going to paste in some code, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what it does here. So if I paste that, so I'm running a build system. This is the backend build for Python that can use uv. It's going to build the wheel files for deployment, and that's something that way down the road we'll get to, and how to build for deployments and how to publish to PyPI and how to do all those things. Those are other tutorials that you can look at, but for now you're just going to take my word that the build system is here. Also, great data engineers know how to read docs and Google things, so if you're really interested in going deeper, look up the build systems, look up hatchling, and kind of see how it works. That's a skill I would recommend you pick up early, is how to read documentation. Nobody likes it. It takes a while, but that's how you really understand things and not just guess your way around or hope that the LLM understands. The other thing I have to do with when I'm using this hatch build here is to make sure that this target is source, this package. This is where I have my code. Remember, I moved my code into source, so I got to tell it it's there. And then the last thing I'm doing is a little bit of a shortcut here. So instead of running uv, run, Python, all the things, I'm saying that if I run pipeline, then you automatically know that I'm trying to run main. Okay, so that gives me a way to quickly run my code. So I can go down here, and you see I've trotted out. I could do uv run pipeline. Before I do that, I want to sync, because I made changes to the toml. So I sync it, and then from syncing it, I run pipeline. And you see the exact same thing here. Failed to hard link files, falling back to full copy. This is just a warning. Again, a good Googleable opportunity here. So you see that I now don't have to run that. I could just do uv run pipeline, and that runs it from inside my virtual container automatically. I don't have to activate the virtual environment. I don't have to do anything in that virtual environment. uv sees it, runs it, and uses what's in there to make everything work. And you get this nice PyProject toml. A couple of things from the requirements and other environment things that are a little flaky that you don't have to worry about here. Some of you, if you've been following me, you know that if I do a requirements.txt and I do pip install in that requirements.txt, and I've made a virtual environment that it installs in, sometimes Visual Studio Code won't pick it up. So sometimes I have to do Control-Shift-P and select my Python interpreter. Now let's just type in Python here. Whoops, I did the wrong shifts. Let me escape. Command-Shift-P. Oh, it's not, because I don't have the thing built into it. But you've seen me add the Python interpreter and select the right one. So I don't have that currently and have to worry about that currently. And if I need to import, so let's say I import httpx. Okay, you'll notice here as well, I'm not underlined or having a problem with the package, can't see it. Right, those are some of the normal issues with requirements.txt, working in Visual Studio Code that you'll see a lot. But I'm running this straight off of uv. So that's my environment setup. That's installing uv. You'll notice how quick it was for me to install it. You'll notice how quickly I installed Python using it. and I was off to the races from a fresh empty dev container. Now this is a container I'm going to use throughout the tutorial set for data engineering, and I'm building it off this. If you jump somewhere in the middle, you'll see a fully built up dev container with a lot of the things I'm adding. Again, the docs and being able to install things and being able to figure things out is really what data engineering is about, right? It's not about copy paste. It's not about hoping it works as a black box. It's about really figuring it out. So if you come later and I have 50 things in my dev container, then hit the docs, hit Mr. Google, and check out an LLM and get the information you need, and then write your code and put it in there. And I stress with LLMs, if you're just starting out, write the code. Copy and pasting will work, and an LLM will make you faster once you understand what it's supposed to be doing and what you really need. So take your time to really understand it, and really understand what's going on. I always tell my juniors that you shouldn't have any code that you've written in the code base that you don't understand or can't explain, at least from a high level, and know what's going on. I mean, you don't have to take it down to the first principles. You don't have to know all the things about it, but you do need to understand what it's doing and what the side effects are. And so I expect my juniors to know that. So I would just encourage you to make sure if you're writing any code, just understand what's going in there, even from a high level, so you know what's expected and what's going to break, and if something breaks, how to fix it. That's all I have for this time. Thank you. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.